If you want to do business in the UAE, you definitely want to stay in the country legally. Additionally, you may want your family to stay with you. To do so, you need to become a UAE resident. There are generally several ways to get a UAE resident status, but we will be looking at the one which is commonly used by UAE entrepreneurs, and this is investors or partners visa. In other words, as the owner of a free zone or a local company, you automatically become eligible for a UAE residency. At the same time, be aware that UAE offshore company ownership will not entitle you to any UAE residency. Now, let's have a look at several important things that you need to know from the start. First of all, remember that even if you are the owner of the company, you will still need to choose a position or a designation that shall be later mentioned in your visa. The common practice in the Northern Emirates is to mention investor or a partner as your designation. Some of the Emirates do not have this practice anymore, and you need to choose a certain position for yourself, such as, for example, executive director, manager, general manager, and so on. Regardless of the emirate you choose for the sake of your company formation, there is one crucial thing we can teach you from the start. Always consult the registration authority regarding your future position. Now we will explain why. And here comes our explanation. Only some positions can be taken by company owners without providing a legalized diploma. Let's take an example. You own a Dubai free zone company and you didn't bring any legalized diploma or other educational certificate with you to the UAE. So, the only document you have is a proof that you own a company. You know that you want to hold the position of a Chief Executive Officer, CEO. So when you apply for a resident visa and pay fees, you mention CEO in application form. Suddenly, after 2 or 3 days of processing documents, registration authority or immigration authority reverts back to you requesting to submit legalized diploma which you don't have. If you could have consulted registration authority or immigration authority directly in advance, you would have learned that, for example, only general manager position doesn't require from company's owner a legalized diploma. And this is just an example. The situation around positions and designation changes all the time, so you should be aware of this and remember to consult your registration authority timely to avoid any inconveniences. At the same time, there is another aspect to the aforementioned situation. Let's pretend you are already a sole company owner and the manager of the same company. As soon as your company was formed, you immediately applied for and received your UAE resident visa. As we already advised, you approached registration authority, found out the general manager position would be the most appropriate for you, and now you have it mentioned in your visa. But you also knew from the start that in the next 3 months you would be appointing a manager in your stead, who would operate and manage the company. So in 3 months you find the right person, come to apply for his or her visa, and here you find out that you cannot actually appoint this person and apply for his or her visa as a manager only once you can cancel yours. Can you believe it? You just paid over $2,000 for your 3-year visa, used it only for 3 months, and now you will need to pay again relevant fees to cancel visa and again settle charges to apply for a new one. Our conclusion and recommendations are as follows. If you know from the start that you will not be the manager later and there will be someone new appointed, make sure you legalize your diploma and apply for a different position from the start. Should you have chosen CEO instead of general manager at the beginning and provided legalized diploma, you wouldn't have been required to cancel any visas later, and the new manager would have applied for a general manager position immediately. So try to think about both things we just mentioned in advance. The second important thing you should be aware of is that often the amount of share capital you hold determines the ability to apply for UAE residency as the company owner without legalized diploma. Again, let's have a look at an example. You have 3 other business partners with whom you established a company. Share capital of the company is 300,000 dirhams in total, where all 4 of you hold the following: 100,000, 100,000, 50,000 and 50,000 dirhams. You personally hold 50,000 dirhams. The time comes to apply for your resident visa, you do not have a legalized diploma, and you were initially advised that you can take investor position. However, as soon as you applied, you received information that to be able to apply for a UAE Resident Visa as an investor, you would need to hold 75,000 in a company out of total 300,000. The only option you have now is to either change the share capital amount or to legalize your education certificate and choose any position you wish as a future employee of the company. While you already understand that you can get UAE residency as a company owner, except for offshore company, you may ask, but how do I first get to the UAE before even I have a company and apply for my resident visa? The answer is you can arrive using a tourist visa and later you can change the status inside the country. We will go through the process of application, visa status change and visa stamping in more details in the next chapters. However, before we finish this one, let's remember that you may want your family to stay and live with you in the UAE. Here you shall be aware again of several aspects. In case you have both a spouse and children, you would need to arrange for them dependent visas. To do this, it would be mandatory to rent an apartment and register respective lease agreement. So be ready to bear extra expenses in light of this. However, if you have a spouse only and no children at the moment, and you are not planning to spend all 365 days in the UAE, because let's say you travel on business all year round, you can either employ your spouse or from the start introduce him or her as the second shareholder of the company. It is important for us to show you that there are always options as to how to structure everything to avoid inconveniences. Company registration process and resident visa processing may seem very straightforward, but as you can see, there are certain aspects you shall be aware of from the start. Our job is to warn you, educate you, and turn your experience of building business in the UAE into an extremely smooth one.